Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. Welcome to part 2. In this episode, hopefully we'll get the brand new radiator installed and get the Mini one step closer to being back on the road. Right, well, I've gone and sourced the front panel. I've got to take it all apart because it did come absolutely complete with radiator and all the lights and everything, but the radiator's dud on this one. But I have got a brand new replacement. There we go, all wrapped up, still ready to go. So the Mini's exactly as I left it in part 1. I need to crack on, get the whole of this front shroud off and ready to install the new one. Right, that's the front panel off. Luckily, there's no other further damage. Both chassis rails are perfectly straight and no damage to those whatsoever. So it's just all the plastic on the front. And there's the remains of the front panel. Right, the next task is to take the old radiator off, install the new one, and then put the front panel back on. Okay, right, that's the radiator taken out of the front assembly. Now it's just a case of lining it all up and bolting it back on. Right, we're ready to fit the front panel. Unfortunately, it doesn't go on as easy as the old one came off. It came off in 3 pieces. The new one hasn't got enough clearance between here. So you've got to remove this arm from both sides off the front of the subframe. Hopefully those bolts won't break, but we'll give that a go and see how we get on. Right, that's those 2 brackets off. They were relatively easy. Thought they were going to be hard, but they weren't. But then I did have a great big lever bar. Right, we're now ready to fit the front panel. So let's get cracking. Okay, that's the surround back on. The lower subframe arms back on as well. Everything's been tightened up at the bottom. I left it all loose at the top. Now it's time to install the radiator. Carefully unwrap it. Don't want to do any damage to a brand new one. Okay, there we have it. One brand new radiator. Alright, time to fit the fan and motor back to the brand new radiator, and then we're ready to install it. Careful not to break these clips, it's the last thing I want to do. Okay, right, now the fan's all on. That's where I'm putting the lower rubber supports on for the radiator, and then we can go and mount it. Go. Put some hose on first. Right, let's lower those into position very carefully, like so. Excellent. Let's feed that underneath and pop it back on. Top clip back on, and then just put the 2 top securing mounts for the radiator on. That's the radiator in position. Luckily the replacement shroud still had the radiator in, therefore we still had the rubbers and the missing clip that we had on this side. Right, now to put the top mounts back on, just slide the rubber on there, he says. There we go. Nice and neat, same with the other one. Tighter because we've obviously got the hose on. Should have done this beforehand. There we go, perfect. Right, just slot that in there. Make sure it lines up with the shroud. There we go. Same on that side. And then just put the securing pin in. Like that. Like that. Beautiful. Right, we've just got to route the fan wire back around. I should have done that beforehand. Now it's stuck. Brilliant. All right, go and do that again. Silly me. this out again. Just enough to give us clearance for the fan wiring, which I should have done before I put the radio back in at the top. Lost my pin now. There it is. Beautiful. Well, let's clip this on. In it goes. Right, now the radiator's on. It's just a case of putting the aircon radiator back on. I know it's not great, but we're just going to put it back on for the time being anyway. At some point I'll do an aircon delete. For now, we'll just refit it and be done with it. Right, now the front crash bar can go back on. There we go. Let's just route this through, which is the outside temperature sensor, ready to clip back into the bumper. Right, let's clip the lights on the side before we put the bumper on. Side. And the other. Right, let's clip the outside air temperature back in. Just slide into there like so. There we go. Right, let's pop the bumper on. The front bumper's all on, just time to fill it up with coolant, bleed the system, run it up to temperature and make sure everything's good. Seems to be doing its stuff. Coolant levels dropped a little bit. We'll top that up in a minute when it's cooled down. Okay, well the fan seems to be working fine. It's just changed down to its slower speed right now. Everything seems to be working quite alright. Right, the temperature gauge went just above halfway, then the fan kicked in. Now we dropped to just under halfway. I've driven it around a little bit. We've been idling for a good 10-15 minutes. Most of the air seems to come out of the system. We've got hot air coming out of the vents, which is always a good sign. Okay, I think we're all good. No obvious leaks anywhere. All the air seems to have come out of the system all right. Coolant's gone down a little bit. We'll top that up tomorrow once it's all settled. But I think we're good to go on this front. Right, the last job I've got to do is fit the under tray. I completely forgot to bring it in today, so I'll have to do that another point because the bumper is still flapping around. Well, that's it for this episode. Hopefully on the next one we'll book an MOT, put it in and see what it fails on. Hopefully we'll get it back on the road very soon, but until then, thanks for watching and I'll see you on the next episode. Merry Christmas.